Vladimir Putin playing 3D chess with gold bars and Joe Biden's playing tiddlywinks? Well, there's a couple of reasons. Crypto back to gold, the ruble pegged to gold, the dollar pegged to boat anchors. Today, in Operation Golden Crypto, Golden Rubles, and, worthless dollars. A lot has been happening in the world economy, let's just say. I'm not a fan of what's going on with the war with Russia and the Ukraine at all. At any measure that has to do with that war, I'm not a fan of. But when it comes to the economics, we all kind of have to pay attention because it affects us all, no matter where you are in the world, and it's affecting the dollar a lot. If you're not familiar with what Putin did, the United States put extreme sanctions on him. Like we always do. We're going to sanction you to the end of time. And for a while, you see the ruble dipped hard. I mean, it nosedived and then bounced up. And a lot of people said it was the dead cat bounce. No, it's not. Now it's at an all-time high as of today. It hit a high. Even with our best college try on the sanctions, it hit a high. Why? Well, there's a couple of things they did. One, they are starving out their citizens. So they are making it so you can't take certain amounts of money. Basically a modern day controlled bank run. So don't get me wrong. They're going to extreme measures. This wasn't easy for Russia and the Russian people. While Putin's a billionaire, the Russian people are going to suffer a lot. They're going to suffer a lot over the coming months. But what Putin did was he's ratcheting up oil and gas. China's trying to be a friend to the world all of a sudden, but they're not going against the U.S. or Russia explicitly. They're saying, well, we don't really agree, but if we buy a little of this or a little of that, I mean, we're China, right? And you've got other countries that are taking hard-nosed sides, but Putin's like, yeah, we're going to peg it to gold at 1,600 an ounce. Now, they do it per gram in rubles, but let's just cut to the chase. When they originally did it right here, 1,600 an ounce. You might be thinking, well, I thought it was 2,000 or 1,900 an ounce. Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. They set a floor on gold. See, precious metals in the United States, because everything's pegged to the dollar. OPEC and oil and precious metals and everything's pegged to the dollar. Now you have other reserve currencies. Second would be the euro. So you got US with about 6.5 to 9 trillion, depending upon the day, because we're influxing capital. Euro's about 2.5 trillion. You've got China with a couple hundred billion. You've got Russia in the mix. You've got Japan in the mix. So there's a lot of different countries that will buy up what we call T-bills. Other countries have their own denominations of their bonds, etc. But everything's pretty much pegged to the dollar or can be received in the dollar. Well, we've manipulated precious metals a lot over the last several decades, and we've kept the prices artificially low, kind of like what they did in the 30s. Well, actually, by some accounts, way worse if you look at percentages. Well, when he puts a floor at 1,600, we're looking at a massive recession in the United States because of everything that's going on with the sudden inflation. Now, we're trying to take $95 billion a month off our balance sheets, which is going to be a very hard landing. We just drastically increased home mortgage interest rates. We're getting ready to do it 6 more times. And even if it's only 0.25%, that's still going to be a multi-percent increase. That's going to crush the housing market. But we've got places like BlackRock and we've got all these multinational conglomerates buying up real estate. Because let me break something down for you real quick. It's not a far cry for the Economic Forum of 2030 to say you'll own nothing and love it. The average person who has a smartphone, let me ask you a couple questions. Just me and you. It's only me and you. You have a smartphone. Do you own that phone, or is that phone tethered to a monthly bill? T-Mobile, AT&T, Verizon, etc. You pay $30 a month, add it on your bill, and that's how you get your $1,000, your $1,500 phone. Do you own your car outright? Because statistically, now according to Apple, over 73% of people who buy iPhones finance them. That's over 7 out of 10. According to the labor statistics in the auto sector in recent purchases for calendar years 2017 through calendar years 2021, about 83% of people in America don't actually own their cars, they pay a monthly payment. So whether you're paying a monthly payment or you're paying a car rental fee based on the social credit score, and what if we could lower your car rental fee because you don't own it anyway, and you don't really own that phone, so instead of paying $30 a month, what if you rent it from us for $10 a month? That way they could take it anytime they want. Same with your car. What about your house? Did you know that roughly 89% of Americans don't own their house? And I'm talking only people with mortgages. So it's less than 50% got them, and then out of that 50%, the other half is all renters, but out of that 50%, 89% pay. And also, even if you pay it off, that other 11%, you've got property taxes to the rest of your life, and they can increase your property taxes anytime they want. When I was a kid, I had friends in Montana that bought a chunk of land, built their dream house over 15 years. Their parents did that over 15 years. When they started, their taxes were literally like $50 to $100 per year. When they left, their taxes were thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. It basically gave them a new mortgage. They owned the land, they built their home. It was a cabin, beautiful place. It was by a lake. That was mistake number one. A bunch of rich people bought up the lake. They didn't want to sell. They basically forced them to sell by raising the taxes so high. On a house they owned, because you never actually own anything anyway. That's why I tell you guys, you need to control everything. Own nothing, control everything. Because you got to play into the system. The system's already set for you. You couldn't own anything if you wanted to. Now let me ask you another question. The average American, and this is run rampant in Europe as well, but the average American, I'm not even going to talk about student loans, but the average American has $40,000 to $50,000 in credit card debt. Now, I've got a lot of cool stuff, a lot of nice stuff, a lot of toys, a lot of this and that, but I own it all. Now, I'm not bragging because when I was in my early to mid 20s, I had credit card debt up to here. Right now, I'm debt free. I have virtually no debt, maybe like my business credit card, but I basically pay that off every month. And that's just an American Express that I pay off every month. It's a ghost card. If you want to learn how to become a ghost, which I highly recommend before you end up with the social credit score and having everything you own confiscated, check out the first link down below. That way you don't have to partake in the system. I don't partake in the system. I could just say, peace, anytime I want to the system. But for most of you, that's not an option. You have 40 to 50 grand in credit card debt, meaning a lot of the things you own, you don't actually own. And most houses have 2 cars, and do you know that most 2-car houses have 2 car payments and a mortgage or a rental payment, and you bought new dishes or a camera or a TV on credit, so you don't actually own that anyway. So it's not a far cry to imagine a world where you don't own anything, because you already don't own anything. And we've allowed this illusion to go so high. Will Russia just punch the United States and Europe in the face by putting a floor on gold? Because Russia has nothing to lose in this regard. What would have to happen, the dollar's never going to be pegged to gold again. It's going to be switched to the Fedcoin, and it's going to be a centralized crypto. There's no such thing. Crypto is peer-to-peer decentralized. Look at Bitcoin's white paper. Look at any respectable crypto. Peer-to-peer decentralized. The government wants centralized and a boot straight up your candy ass. Anyway, I digress. You've got to pick a side in that regard, and I think we both know the better side. But this is where we're going. So the fact that they set a floor. Now, Russia's the 3rd largest crypto miner for Bitcoin. Now we look at Monero, the rise in Monero, which is quite a bit. We look at other privacy coins that are growing rapidly. And then we look at a situation where with the economic standards and the way we're going, the standard of living falling off a cliff for most people. Okay, this inflation, they talk about 8%. Where? Gas is up 50 plus, gas is doubled. Food is doubled, and they're saying it's going to double again. Energy in most places has doubled. So, you know, you can find some obscure, useless crap, but most things that people rely on to stay alive or to have any sort of semblance of a even lackluster comfort has doubled. And we've barely scratched the surface. And now we have a president of the United States, and you've got world leaders all through Europe that the only thing they can do is blame Putin. Whether or not it's his fault doesn't matter. They should have prepared. They should have their ducks in a row, period. But he threw off the whole situation of the 2030 because he set a floor on gold. Now, when we pivot to crypto, will crypto be pegged to gold? No. I get this question all the time. Will crypto be pegged to gold? Will Bitcoin be pegged to gold? Will anything digital currency be pegged to gold? No, that doesn't actually make sense. And big picture, I mean, can you do that in a small scale? Of course, liquidity, easy. But big picture, no, that's not the plan. Because he set the floor on gold, because he set the standard, now it's going to make it impossible to manipulate. And he did that as a big FU to the West. But it goes much deeper. Now, I've got a video coming up where I'm going to break down exactly what's going to happen, in my opinion, on the new world reserve currency. And it's not going to be what you think. Now, there's some great videos out there talking about different things on what certain people think is going to happen. I think that's great, educating people and getting the word out. But becoming a ghost and changing the style of life you live is vital right now with everything that's happening. Basically, the United States and the dollar is going to go off a cliff, and now they can't even backstop it because nobody's going to want their worthless dollars. Their bonds are useless. We're raising rates, which is going to cripple the market. You've already got millions of people being kicked out of their homes, still can't recover from 2020. We have a massive influx in house prices. Now we have interest rates raising, which means monthly payments are raising, but wages are doing nothing. In fact, we have the great resignation. People are having to figure out ways to put food on the table, which has doubled in price. And now the United States needs to reset. Well, how are they going to reset when they're set a standard? They're going to lose any respectable companies because they're going to take their capital in precious metals based on the new floor. And the floor can always go up from there, but they're set a whole new structure. So it's going to accelerate the Fedcoin because they have no choice. That's the only way they can reset, is to accelerate the Fedcoin. So if you're in crypto, you need to go ghost faster than ever, because what Russia did is great for precious metals, but horrible for fiat currency, because he basically called their bluff and went all in. And now Europe and the United States and Australia and Canada and all the rest of the Western countries are standing there like, ah, boy, now we're SOL. Because they wanted to manipulate, I mean, they could manipulate gold down to $700-800 an ounce, which would be ideal. Now, the Economic Forum was talking about gold under 1,000 ounce, fair financial denominations and all this stuff. That's not possible now. So it's going to be an interesting ride. Let me know what you think down below. Appreciate you guys checking out this video. Make sure you're staying alert on what's happening in the world. This is vital. I mean, this is vital for everything that's happening. And the United States is going to have to increase the speed of which they produce the Fedcoin. They have no choice now. They have to save face. And the only way to save face is to pivot. That way, when they stumble, they can call it stumbling blocks. Just like when gas went supersonic for 9-10 months, and then as soon as Russia starts a war, they're like, well, it's Russia. Well, what about the 9-10 months before that when it went from, $2.60 a gallon to $4.80 a gallon? And then the war happened, it went from $4.80 to $5.20 on average. So it did go up, but most of the increase happened before. What about food prices that happened before? They don't want to talk about that. Appreciate you guys checking out this video. Let me know what you think is going to be happening down below. Subscribe if you haven't already, because I put out new videos here at PrivacyX all the time. Stay alert and stay aware what's happening in crypto and what's happening in the economics. Not just like the markets. The markets are manipulated or irrelevant, but look where they're going and try to visualize yourself where you think this is going. Get information from multiple sources, compile it, and try to build a roadmap that's going to help you moving forward. I'm dead serious, because none of these leaders have your best interest in hand. And soon, they're going to confiscate your crypto. They're going to confiscate your precious metals. You're going to have to decide if you're going to let them. If you're a ghost, they'll have nothing to confiscate. If you're building offshore companies like I talk about, they'll have nothing to confiscate. If you're structuring your life in a manner where it's corporate first and you control everything and own nothing, there's nothing to go after. But for 99% of you who have crypto exchanges in your name and stock portfolios in your name and businesses in your name and homes in your name, you're dead in the water and they're coming for you. That's all I got to say about it. If you want to become a ghost, we can help you out at Privacy X, first link down below. But also, start looking at the world around you and deciding what you're going to do when they come for you. Have an amazing day. Go all in. I'll see you guys in the next video.